My name is Nate, and this week I talk loving your competition. Now, what does this mean? This is a question I've asked myself many times over the years. I do run my own business, and I've had people try and compete with me. That's normal when you run your own business. And I'm not a very extroverted person. I did learn that about myself, that I don't automatically default to attack, that I am not the kind of person that's going to be aggressive in a situation, hence why I am seeking calm. That's the most important to me. It's the most important thing to me in life. So for this reason, dealing with competition is not one of the easiest things for me. In fact, I will try to avoid it at every cost because in the past, when I would see something related to my competition, that it would demotivate me. So I found that the best thing that I could do in any given moment was to close my eyes to it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That has worked well for me because I was never influenced by others' views on certain things and how others created and formed their passion. I knew I could learn from it. I know that was my one mistake, is that I could have learned from it. But the way that my mind reacted to it was poorly. And for that reason, I just closed my eyes and I did what I felt was best for my experience in that moment for whatever I was setting up. So if my competitors were copying me, I didn't know. And that was fine with me. That made me comfortable. I have changed my view on that over the years, and now I do kind of look into competition and see what I can learn, what would inspire me from that, and how I can convert it into what mattered to me most when it came to running my own personal business. So learning to love your competition doesn't always mean that you need to follow them, that you need to see every single step that they make, and that that if they make a step that somehow slights you in a certain way, that you don't need to attack, that you could just sit back. And I'm going to cover my ideas around this. But in the end, if it's comfort that you seek in a very competitive business market, depending what your business is, that you can find this through mastery. And the only way that you can find mastery is through passion. So basically, if you're passionate about something that you are doing, mastery will eventually come. Because every single morning you're going to be excited to learn the next big thing in regards to your passion. And as you learn more and more, eventually you're going to learn the most. And even though there are going to be people out there who are better than you at it, there is always somebody who is better, who has studied harder and worked harder towards it. You will still become a master in your own circle. This is something that passion brings. And with mastery comes comfort. So the most stressed that you'll ever be when running a business is if two things occur. First, you are new to it. And second, it is not your passion. So thinking that I'm going to, for example, I don't know, open a cafe. And you think, oh, cafes are very popular. Coffee is the best legal drug that you can have. And I do agree with that. I love my coffee. So you open a cafe and you think, oh, I'm just going to take advantage of this. But then you see, oh, there's certain ways you run the cafe. There's certain decisions you have to make. There's day in and day out activities that need to be done. And at the beginning, you can't afford to hire somebody else to do it for you. And you're going to have to get up every single morning and do that every single day. And what you're thinking in your head is, okay, these are my tasks. I got to get this, and this done. And if it's not your passion, you're going to despise it. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to say, I'm too tired to do this. I don't want to, and things are going to eventually fail. And now some people have the natural motivation to push through that feeling, but eventually it gets us all. So it really is so important. It's something the younger generation has definitely picked up on, and I think it's helped them greatly, is that you should be focusing on what you're best at and what you love to do. So if coffee is your life, which it is mine, I love it, but on top of that, providing coffee for others is something that you're passionate about, then every single morning that you wake up, that is what you're going to want to do. So having that mastery brings comfort because you know that you've carved out your own little corner of reality that no competitor can touch. And even if somebody comes along who is better than you at it, this is only motivation for you to learn more and love every moment of that. And that's where knowing your competition is probably a good thing. So being the best at something does mean that others will envy you, especially those who have not found their own passions in life. Actually, it's probably only those who have not found their own passion in life, which in the current world we live in, the chaos that ensued, that is a lot of people. But if a competitor comes in with an envious beginning and they start to kind of find inspiration, or we'll say copy what you're doing, you need to ask yourself, are they right for it? And this is the same if you are the person that I'm talking to, if you're the competitor in this conversation where you are trying to find what you're meant for in life, and you see something that you think is popular and that you think that you'll enjoy, this is for you as well. So I found a quote. This is a great quote. The man's name is Ryan Holiday. He is the founder of a site. He does YouTube videos. He has books that I've read a couple of those books. He's a wonderful writer. And the site is known as Daily Stoic. So I highly recommend you visit that. He was talking about a famous Roman leader named Marcus Aurelius. This historical character was actually featured in the movie Gladiator. If you've seen that, he was the kindly older leader that Russell Crowe's character respected greatly. Yeah. Sorry, I was about to give a spoiler away from the movie, but don't worry, I'm not going to do that. So the quote from Ryan Holiday in regards to Marcus Aurelius is that the criteria for success were simple. That back then, that you were displaying good character and doing good works. This is the fruit of life, the fruit of study of philosophy, and it was basically around having good character and doing acts of common good. Now, your business, as just a side note, your passion basically that can turn into your business, this is, in my mind, what giving back is all about. So you say giving back, people immediately assume charity. I don't see it that way. This is Nate talking. You can do charity and it will make you feel wonderful. But giving back your passion is, I think, the most natural flow to life. And that is giving your gift to the world. So if you are passionate about something and you become a master at it, then that's what you're giving back. So as a side note, as a small business owner myself, I have fought against the idea of overcharging, which for some reason has become very common in our world, and I don't know why. But for some reason, everybody is now starting to see things that were once reasonably priced, that they can get more for it. And if everybody in that segment also charges the same amount or more, it's just going to keep raising those prices, and you're not really giving back at that anymore. You're basically doing it for monetary reasons. So I was always the one to say, when you're doing a business, you say, okay, what's the best price I can charge to be comfortable in a life that is happy for me, that might not be luxurious if that's not what you're looking for, such as myself, and also by not taking advantage of others, that I'm not trying to, make the world from every single person instead of taking it as a whole. That's what you do. Is that you're not hurting people, then you're not bringing karma back onto yourself. Instead, you're just giving your gift to the world in a reasonable way. Continuing with Ryan Holiday's quote, This is a wonderful mantra in the sense of displaying good character and doing good works. This is a wonderful mantra worth repeating to ourselves always. It's so easy to get distracted by other things, by other definitions of success. We see other people getting recognition and we want it. We see them making money and suddenly what we have is not enough. We see them getting away with things and think maybe we should try that too. And usually those things are bad. Oh, and how does this lead us astray? Well, making money, getting recognition, getting away with things, these require things outside your control to go right. And even when they do, they still won't matter. What matters always is whether we're cultivating our character. That's a great way to end it. Cultivating our character. Now that's how Marcus Aurelius called it. Character was an old way to state this. Today I would see it as becoming a master of your passions. That is what your character is. That is what you can become, whatever resonates with you and whatever you're excited every single morning to get up and do. I think the hardest thing in life is finding that. And cultivating our character is a way of saying that is how you're going to find it. You're always going to be trying to move towards what is the best self for you in this life experience. So how do you view competition then in relation to this? Well, that's the question. The first question you need to ask is, are they seeking their passion? And if not, you're fine. It's an interesting thought, right? If they're seeking their passion, you might be thinking in the back of your mind, well, wait a minute. If they're seeking their passion, they're going to get really good at it, and then I'm going to be in trouble. But then I'm saying, no. If they're seeking their passion, that's not what you should be concerned with. If they're not seeking their passion, then you're fine. So if they're seeking their passion, you're fine. If they're not seeking your passion, you're fine. So basically the idea behind that is finding comfort in competition. So the viewpoint you should have here, the one that has really worked well for me, is that your competition is just another human being, such as yourself. There's really no difference. That they're finding their passion in life. So if this is what they're meant to do, that they would become the best at it related to themselves. It is not something I've ever experienced in life where a person who seeks their passion in your version of reality, in your bubble of reality, becomes the same passionate person that you are, to the point that they're going to take what you have. I have not seen this yet. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I have not seen this yet. I have not heard of it as well, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on that. So they're not going to become the exact same person. Once they find their passion and become masters of it, they're going to have their own take on things. So there's going to be people out there who have interest in what you do, and people out there who have interest in what they do, and eventually the two entities will split off, and they will not be your competition anymore. If anything, if they're in the same segment as you, they might bring people to your segment, and they might even be an assistance to you. Now, if they're not finding their passion, if they're doing it because they think you're successful and they just want a piece of that success, if they're not happy with their own lives, for example, then you don't need to worry about that either. Because they might do what they do. They might come for you. They might try and hurt your business in whatever way possible. And as long as you don't react in a poor way, that usually everything's fine. Most of that stuff is just in your head. Then eventually they're just not going to be passionate about it anymore. If they don't get any reaction from you, sometimes that's what some people want, is they want conflict. And if they get that conflict from somebody who is high up in the place that they want to be, they think that they have now gotten this, and that's what's going to motivate them. So conflict from you and your stresses and your poor way to look at the situation is going to motivate them to try harder to hurt you. And by opening the door to that pain, you might cause yourself problems. So the best thing to do in this case is it's not their passion, is just to not react. Let them do what they're going to do. I'll come to what you can do is if It's something that does hurt your business, whatever they might be doing. I can talk about that in a bit, but for the most part, just ignoring them is the best method, because eventually it will just fall off for them in that moment. So if you are going through this, somebody is trying to compete with you and it's bothering you, the best way to react to this in any moment is to meditate on those feelings. So you sit down with whatever's bothering you, and usually your body will tell you. If it doesn't tell you, get into that state of like 5 or 10 minute meditation where you're quieting the mind, and then ask yourself, why is this bothering me? And usually something will pop into your head, and that's when you can focus on. So for example, if somebody had taken something you've written, like say you have a website and you have a page on there, and they actually copied and pasted your creative writing and used that for themselves, well, then that's going to bother you because they took your words, and that's what you can meditate on. So if you meditate on the idea that they stole your words, that they plagiarized you, then you can ask yourself, well, feel that fear and anger that's over it, and then ask yourself, why are you feeling this? How bad is it really that they took your words? I mean, there's stuff you can do about that, but for the most part, that's not going to hurt you in any way. If anything, you wrote something that's so great that they wanted to copy it and that they feel it's going to work for them. If anything, I think it's not a huge, huge deal. So you ask yourself, why am I fearful and angry over this? Has it caused me to lose customers? Has my business started failing because of it? And usually the answers to those are no. Then in that case, you go back to that Stoic principle, is that you can't control what others do. You can only control what you do. So at that point, since you're the creative source of what was written, my suggestion would be that you go in and rewrite it, and that you continue to rewrite it. And you'll find that even as you're rewriting it, that you'll learn new things from what you're writing, because it is good to update your information in relation to your passion, because you learn something new every day. And they'll continue to copy it if they do. Who cares? Because you're going to just continue to rewrite it, and you're going to get something out of that. So that is a good way to approach that one specific issue. Because really, when it comes down to it, mastery and passion is constant learning. And what that's going to do is set you apart from the rest who are not passionate about what they're doing. Because eventually they're just going to get tired of having to continuously follow you, and they might move on to somebody else, or they might just give up completely. But this is, yes, a challenge for you. But when it's a passion in your life, every single challenge is a joy, as long as it's coming from a very pure point of silence and not coming from your fear and anger. So doing a meditation to pass that fear and anger and get calm with yourself and get calm with what's happening to you is the first step before you then figure out, or what's told to you by that voice in your head, not the angry, egotistical voice, but the one that's going to pop in with all your great ideas over your lifetime. It will tell you what to do next. So what do you do if it is a competitor that's crafting their own passion? Then you do nothing. Let them craft their passion. This is something that you did in your own life, and you might not have been as aggressive as they are today. You might not have glommed onto someone and then just followed every single move that they did. Most people who are actually seeking their passion won't do that, because they'll eventually fall into what feels right to them, and it's not usually what feels right to others. So for that case, then once they're realizing their own passion, you really got to do nothing. Let them do it. I mean, you're making somebody else happy. You're helping somebody else find their gift that they're going to give back to the world. If anything, this is wonderful karma that's going to be coming your way. So if you sit back and do nothing and just kind of, monitor the situation as a third-party bird's eye view, then it's fine. And eventually when they find what's right for them and their own passion, they'll fall away from you and do what they need to do. But if it is a competitor that's copying your passion just for money, This one is a little bit more tricky because unfortunately we live in an ego-based society. Competition is considered key, which is very unfortunate. I do not agree with this at all, but to be able to survive, because money is sadly the root of life, it is root of all evil, but it is the root of life, that you can't survive without money unless you're content being someone living in the streets, which is not something most people want, especially where I'm from in Canada. That is not something you want to do in the wintertime. So if they are just doing this for money, they've now changed the context a bit. Because an aggressive competitor who has no passion in what they're doing will try to take what you have. And this is where the powerful part of Powerfully Calm comes from, is that you can't just sit back and let that happen. That you do need to react to it. Now, I'm not saying to react to it in anger, and definitely don't react to it in fear. You need to do that first step of passing those fear and anger feelings so that you can get down to the root of what needs to be done. Because when you're calm, you are at your best. So if what they are doing is very aggressive, it is affecting your passion in business and life, then you need to react. There's really no way to avoid it. But how do you react? Calm but firm. Remember that. Calm but firm. You need to accept the situation for what it is. Don't think in the back of your mind that, I'm so sad this is happening to me, and why is it have to happen to me? Why is everything in life out to get me? These are the common things that will run through somebody's head when they're feeling bad for themselves. So the first step you need to do is accept, and this can come through meditation as well, where you just know that this is the situation and you're in, and see it for what it is. There's somebody out there that is just causing you problems because they are seeking money, and that they are not the most, I'm not sure what the best word for that, I don't want to say anything that's too nasty, but they are not the most connected. There you go. They're not the most connected to others around them. They're not the most empathetic. They are really just thinking of themselves. And there's a lot of people out there who do this. So accept that for what it is. And then you move into each action that you're going to take without force. Do it lightly. You will have things coming into your mind. Once you remove the anger and fear, you'll have ideas that will come to you on best to handle this. Sometimes it'll happen when you're sleeping at night, and you'll have a dream that will, tell you what to do next. But whatever steps that you take to resolve the situation, you do it without force. You put it in place to kind of flow with the energy of what's happening. You just allow it to take root. It's almost like planting a tree. So for example, I'll go back to my original idea of somebody took your words and using it on their site. Well, changing the words yourself, constantly, updating them is a action without force, because you didn't go after that person for the action that they took. You accepted what they did as happening, and now you're doing something from your side, something that you can control to change the situation. So that's a perfect example of an action without force. But remember, keep that silence, because life will provide the answers. There is I'm going to be careful how I say this, there is an overall controlling force in our life experience, and that force will deliver messages to you if you are silent enough to hear them. So really what it comes down to is you don't need to truly stress about anything you do in your life, because guidance will be given to those who are willing to listen. Now, some quick final thoughts in regards to this. Another great method to handle this aggressive competition that may be coming towards you is to learning to love your competitor. Now, love is a very powerful emotion. It is definitely a better emotion for you to have than fear or anger. Fear or anger is an emotion that eats away at your soul. It takes away the bliss of life. But love is that true bliss. Now, the love chakra is around the heart. This is why the heart is usually associated with love, like Valentine's Day, for example. So if you can feel for your competitor the same type of love that you will feel for a family member or somebody in your life that you love, if you can transfer those feelings onto them, by loving your competitor no matter what they do to you, you will find calm. Now, meditation is a good way to find that, but sometimes the meditation can be difficult. And this is kind of a hack in a way, that if you can feel that heart love for the person, picturing them in your head, picturing them doing that terrible thing to you, yet you still hold on to that feeling of love, I find that that will remove fear and anger almost immediately. And by having that love for them, no matter what they do, you're fine with it. You just kind of accepted that that's the person who they are, that's what they're going to be doing in the moment, and then you can do that reaction, that action without force, to just make sure that your situation is okay. So accepting and loving your competitor is a great hack to getting to that calm and loving energy that will allow you to make the best decisions in the best moment.